We are feeling the effects of inflation in every area of our lives. Prices are rising across the board, including our insurance. The increased cost of housing, home building, rent, construction, and automobiles will most likely affect your insurance pricing in 2022. But to help us plan, we welcome Derek Wiley from the Derek Wiley Agency Incorporated. Good morning and thanks for being with us today.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm going to be real honest. After sharing that intro, I've been better, but you're here to help us, to guide us, and certainly be there for us. So how is it, I guess is the first thing we should get to, is how have rising costs for home and auto prices impacted the insurance marketplace?
Well, what we've seen over the last probably 18 months is the costs of everything are rising. We saw that in 2021. There was a lot of conversation about the increasing cost of lumber, which of course manifested itself in increased housing cost. The price of homes we've seen gone up. Also, the National Automobile Dealers Association stated that the largest single year-over-year increase in used auto prices occurred last year. And so, of course, insurance pays to replace and fix these items when they get damaged. So as a consequence, we're going to start to see those prices trickle down, unfortunately, into our insurance costs.
And, you know, I'm sure, myself included, many of us didn't even think about those factors, right? Because we all are aware of the increased pricing, as you mentioned, of automobiles. But it makes sense that in order to cover those costs, that would also affect our insurance. All right, well, how will 2022 differ from 2021 in terms of insurance cost expectations?
Well, I think in 2021, it was kind of recovery year. In 2020, if you'll recall, a lot of insurance companies took rate decreases, especially on the auto insurance side, with the expectation that there'd be less travel, and as a consequence, less rates were needed to be charged. However, in 2021, we kind of saw a stabilization in the market as we got back to some level of normalcy. In 2022, I think we're going to kind of see the unfortunate side of what happened in 2021 with issues with supply chain, labor shortages, factories being shut down, which of course led to rising costs for all these items. So I think in 2022 we're going to probably see a reversion from what we saw in 2020 and 2021, from a lower cost to likely higher cost, and then the plan is to figure out how do we best navigate that, and what can we do to minimize those cost increases in our household budget.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So what can we as consumers do to prepare or combat potential rising costs for insurance as we move through 2022?
I think the biggest thing that you can do is obviously make sure that you're being vigilant, that you're looking at your renewals when they come in for your home, your auto insurance, your other lines of insurance, to see if you're seeing those increases. Be aware there is going to be some inflationary pressure there, so we do expect prices to rise somewhat, but you want to keep an eye to make sure they're not rising a lot higher than your expectations are. And if you do see those increased costs, I'd recommend reaching out to your insurance company or your agent and having them take a look. And in our case, we've got the ability to shop for people, to take a look at different options to make sure that we try to keep those costs down. But I'd say the biggest piece of advice for 2022 is be vigilant. Look at those renewals. Don't just let those automatic payments come out of your account without first doing some review to make sure that the prices that you're paying are maybe in line with your budget and haven't really creeped up on you more than you were expecting.
Yeah, with that, in that same vein of advice, is there an advantage that consumers get by working with, say, an independent insurance agency during a period of rising inflation and pressures that will likely to increase insurance cost this year?
Yeah, I think when you have someone that's in your corner, which is what an independent agent does, it's what we do in our business, in our agency, what we try to do is make sure that we're looking out for you. We're a consumer advocate, so we work for you, the customer. We don't necessarily work for the insurance company. So we've got the ability to go through, look at various different companies, see how their rates compare maybe from last year. If we find that a company has taken a rate that we think is outside of the normal rate that we would expect, we have the ability to go in, run rates with different companies just to make sure that we're meeting your needs and that you're not overpaying for that insurance. And so that's really the advantage of what we bring to the table. We do the shopping for you so that you don't have to do it all by yourself.
Well, it's great to know experts like yourself.
Yes.
And good to have you in our corners. Well, Derek, this has been very insightful and helpful this morning. Thank you so much for sharing with us and keeping us aware and keeping us protected.
Thank you, Kianna. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.